Hello everyone, my name is Lance090 and welcome to a video that's going to be a little bit strange for my channel since we mostly do Let's Plays on my channel and I haven't really talked about it before, but I'm actually a huge fan of Star Trek. Uh, you might be able to put that together though. I know my outfit very strange, but it looks a lot like a Star Trek uniform. I got it at Walmart. It's not supposed to be a Star Trek uniform. It just looks so much like it, so I was like, oh, I gotta pick this up. This is kind of hilarious. And there's another one that's a little bit cheaper than this one that also looks like a Star Trek uniform. So I might pick that one up too, just for fun. But anyway, we're doing the video that lots of Star Trek nerds are making. I've been kind of putting it off because I feel like there's enough people doing it that I shouldn't have to do it. But the show's just been so bad that I gotta do it. So this is the obligatory Star Trek Discovery rant. And I'm kind of going to frame this in a method of, like, I'm seeing a lot of Star Trek fans that do like the series. And I don't want to seem like a Debbie Downer or a party pooper or just trying to make sure people can't have their fun, but you really shouldn't like it if you're a Star Trek fan. And we're gonna kind of talk about why. And so we're going to start from, like, the very first teasing that we got of the series coming out. So here's a still frame from the teaser video that came out at the start when it was the very first thing they announced about the series. I don't have any problem with this. Small ones, but let's get into it. I don't think this design is that bad. I think this one is fine. And I say this one because they redesigned it. It's very traditional. I can see this fitting in the Prime timeline pretty well. Like, the only thing that I would change is I would bring these nacelles back just a little bit. I don't like how they're longer in the front than they are in the back. That's ugly. That's not how Star Trek ships are supposed to look. So I'd move them back a little bit and maybe make them a little bit longer. Not a lot longer, which we'll get into that later too. But everything else I think is fine. These three nacelle or three bizarre collector things are kind of cool. They remind me of, like, the NX Bazaar a little bit. So what that kind of tells me with this ship design is that they weren't really able to build a bigger warp engine yet. So what they have to do is they just have to expand on the ones they already have. So they have these three NX type nacelles to propel a larger ship get up to speed, because they can't just combine it into one big one yet. So that'd be kind of cool. There's a lot of small details which you can change those pretty quick that a lot of people picked over. I'm not really gonna nitpick over those a little bit, like the blue dish was one of the big ones. Is since this is supposed to be 10 years before TOS, although they didn't exactly specify that at the time of this teaser. That's why people are looking at the different details trying to figure out when this chip design was supposed to be out. But what we do find out later is supposed to be 10 years before TOS. Once we get into the show, we actually learn that it's fresh off the assembly line, so it's actually, the ship itself is actually 10 years newer than the Constitution class, or at least the Enterprise. So it shouldn't have the blue glow. It should just have a flat dish. I don't really have a big problem with that. I think that's fine. I just would change the nacelles a little bit, and I think it's fine. A lot of people were really upset about the design, but I think they're overreacting in general over it. I have a lot more problems with the new one than this one in particular. But the big thing that I saw with this trailer, or less saw as much as heard, was the background music was extremely Klingon or Romulan. It could be either one. Very warlike, heavy drums kind of thing going on. So that told me that, like, okay, the ship does look designed a lot different, especially the secondary hull. Like, this kind of looks like it could either be like a Romulan bird of prey or like a Klingon Katinga kind of back section, give or take. So it was like, okay, so they're implying that this ship is like a co-design between humans and Klingons or humans and Romulans. And then kind of further on that idea was the very last sound that the trailer plays, as it says, like, coming in, well, it's supposed to be December of that year, I think. And ended up being quite a bit longer. When it said coming soon, it played the decloaking noise. That kind of sealed it for me. Like, okay, that's definitely what's going on here. But people were really upset about that particular fan idea because I saw in the comments that other people had thought that too. For some reason, they were getting shamed over it. It was just like it's too early in the timeline for any kind of cooperation between them. But I think it would be an interesting thing to explore. But ended up that's not what the case is. They just didn't really think through the sound effects they used, I guess. And they kept changing directors and stuff, and who even knows if the very first idea of what the series is going to be is what it is now, so I don't know. But I thought this design was fine. So let's move on. One of the next things they announced was this ship. There's some other stuff. I don't remember exact timeline. I'm kind of doing it off the cuff here. But this is the Shinzao, which is what the series starts with. We don't even see Discovery in the first 2 episodes of the pilot, other than the intro. So this ship is the one I have a lot more problems with. Like, this one is the actual issue here. This ship looks like it's from the 2500s. For like reference, I think TNG is in the 2300s. Again, off the cuff, and don't know all the dates perfectly in my head, but so this one looks like it's even post some of the newest Star Trek tech. Newest being what's the name of the last movie? Sorry. It's not Insurrection. Star Trek movie list. I should know it. I'm just blanking out completely. Nemesis. There we go. Nemesis was the farthest ahead in the series that in the prime timeline. So this looks like it's after Nemesis. The tech is so advanced looking on this ship. Has all these strange points and strange shapes. This deflector that we've never seen in our lives. The nacelles, they don't look like anything from any era that we're familiar with. So everyone is hoping that maybe this ship is from the future, or an alternate dimension. It's not. It's actually older than Discovery by quite a bit. Like we talked about, the Discovery is actually a brand new ship. It's actually newer than the Constitution class. Like 10 years newer, because it's fresh off the assembly line. This one's like very old. So it's supposed to be more towards the NX class, but yeah. Look at it, it's not. So yeah, this one I have a huge problem with, and this was the star of the show for the first 2 episodes. It's not a good sign. Of course, when this teaser came out, we didn't know that was going to be the star of the episode or anything. But, you know, I'm having a hard time here going in order of things being released and what the episodes have showed us. And we'll be revisiting this picture in a moment as we talk about the episodes themselves. We'll also do that one next. So this is one of the last teasers we also got. Was they were really making a huge deal about this Klingon torchbearer outfit. It was a huge thing. They're trying to push this more than anything they ever did, them being CBS. Like, they really loved this design for some reason. They really pushed it. And we'll get into that as we talk about the episode. If someone didn't tell you that this was Star Trek, would you recognize this as Star Trek? No, you wouldn't. It has nothing to do with Star Trek. The design is completely off track. I guess you might notice the symbol on the side there, which we're going to get into that. Probably the next thing we're looking at next. But yeah, it's not good. This was piling on all these little small errors that we've been seeing so far, and it's like, starting to get a little bit worried, guys. I don't think you're making a real Star Trek series here. Then we go to uniform. Now this breakdown thing here is actually a fan creation, but this was the uniform that they teased us. The person who made it broke it down into details, which is cool. You can kind of tell that, but I think the nacelles are still the old ones. No, that might be the new ship design there. But they did hide an NX class in the background, which for a moment I didn't know that this was a fan design, and I saw the NX and I was like, oh, they're actually connecting it. Oh no, I have a train coming. I'm gonna have to mute the microphone. Maybe it won't honk outside the window. Probably not. Sorry. decided to not honk outside the window, so I probably could have left it. Oh well. Anyway, so this is the new uniform. Again, lots of people really upset about it. I don't think it was the end of the world. It's not good, but I don't think it's the end of the world. And I just say that because it looks like the Star Trek Enterprise uniform. So to show you that in case you're not familiar with it, bug in here. Star Trek Enterprise. So like there you go. The Star Trek Enterprise uniform was a blue jumpsuit, which is 100, 200 years before this series should start. 200 years before Discovery should start. So for it to not look like TOS uniforms yet is a kind of a stretch. But you could kind of justify it as like, well, maybe they've been out in space for a really long time and they haven't had time to change the uniforms out yet. You could kind of tie it back to NX-01 and get away with it. But there's some other problems with the uniform though, which is the guy zooms in. These are all little tiny deltas. And then you have the pendant delta. And then down on the boots you have deltas. Would be surprised if the footprints are probably deltas. It's just very strange what this series starts to do in like these final teasers as it's coming out. They start putting deltas on everything. Everything. Like, kind of like the Torchbearer suit, they put a Klingon symbol on it. It comes off as desperation. They're seeing that they're messing up what they're supposed to be doing. They know that they messed up the designs and everything, and they're like, okay, we have to do something that'll make the Star Trek fans happier. So what should we do? Let's make sure that it looks like Star Trek. Let's put deltas on everything. No. Very few things have the delta in them in Star Trek. The emblem does, and the comm badge does. Nothing else. Nothing else has a delta on it. I guess the cells sometimes have a delta on them, but that's about it. Painted onto them. This thing, they put deltas on everything. Show that next. Some other things that they teased. This is actually some of their better work here. The props for the phaser rifle, and the communicator. I did pull up the communicator tab, but like the image was copyrighted or something, and it's not opening up. But yeah, the phaser looks very, very close to the original phaser. It has some tiny changes, but they're fine. Phaser is 10 out of 10 perfect. Phaser rifle, some of the classic TOS fans are kind of upset about it because it doesn't look anything like the TOS taser rifle. Let's be honest. TOS phaser rifle. It looks pretty bad. Sorry. This is one of those things that you really can't carry this over to the modern television. People will be, oh, it's not good. I know if you're a TOS fan, you're probably really pissed at me for saying it's not good, but it's bad. It's real bad. But if we took up the Enterprise, it's not the phaser rifle, because the phaser rifle is a little bit different. It's the Mako rifle. The Enterprise Mako rifle looks like this, which looks a fair bit like this. Pop it back here, compare it back again. Very, very similar. It has the same kind of end piece. If we had a different view of the end piece here, you would see it has the phase rifle kind of, or phase pistol kind of design on the end piece here. And then these three things in the middle are more reminiscent of the TOS phaser, because it had those three tubed kind of things going on. And then like the handholds, more like the Mako rifle. So this rifle makes sense. It's a complete visual reboot of it, but they followed design cues from the other series, primarily Enterprise, to design it, so which is awesome. So whoever did the small miniature props here, they knew what they were doing, but no one else did. Okay, so let's get into... Oh no, there's one more thing we have to cover. Discovery Klingons. And this is a new Klingon design. Oh, it's bad. It's really bad. So they teased it before the show came out. I was like, okay, maybe they're talking about this sarcophagus ship. They're showing us this torchbearer thing. It's clear that there's some kind of ancient ship in the series that's going to be involved in it. So maybe these Klingons have been in cryo storage for thousands of years, and that's how Klingons used to look, but they've evolved since then. That'd be a good idea if that was how it worked. Or maybe this is a particular sect of Klingons in a far reach of their territory that we've never seen before. That'd be fine. And we went into the series kind of hoping that was going to be the case. And as the episodes played out, we're realizing these are the Klingons. They all look like this. Or they all look like this. They don't look like Klingons at all. There's nothing to do with them that's Klingon. A few of them, this main guy, he kind of has Klingon ridges going on, but not all of them have that. Only a very few of them do. More of them look like this, where they don't really have head ridges. Their heads are extremely elongated. They're just very, 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 very bad design. They kind of look like the Remans. They kind of look like the Prometheus alien. The what's the name of it? The jockey? Prometheus. I think it's named Jockey. I can't remember. Kind of look like the jockey. This isn't the one I'm looking for though. Kind of more like this guy too. This, whatever he is, he looks more like the new Klingons look more like him than they do Klingons, so that's a problem. So let's go into the first episode. I'm going to try to cover everything very briefly. If you want to see people pick apart at it scene by scene very, very carefully, I'd recommend the Trek Yards channel for that. They go through and they review every episode and they break it down piece by piece, and their videos are almost longer than the episodes themselves because they go into so much detail. I'm just going to hit the problems. So the first episode, they start out on this desert planet. We saw teasers of this before, and it was kind of like, oh, maybe they're on Vulcan, but they're not. So it's just some desert planet. That's fine, whatever. And they find these alien tribe, and their well is broke. They shoot the phaser down the well. They save they clear the well out for this race, and that's all good. That seems like a standard kind of Star Trek episode. Kind of establishes what the characters' attitudes are like. The main character lady is Michael Burnham is her name in the series. She is a human raised by Vulcans. Okay. She is Spock's adopted daughter. Not Spock's adopted daughter. Spock's dad's adopted daughter. Sarek. That's where the problem is with her character. It has been a while since I watched TOS, but what I recall is that Sarek's kind of a dick. To be honest, I think Sarek's a dick. He doesn't really like Spock that much for being half human. He's kind of mean to other crew members. And then he shows up again in TNG, and he's kind of a dick again. So I don't see him being someone who would adopt a human child. And then he's pretty nice with her in his conversations with her. He saved her life and stuff. And he was not very friendly to Spock, if I recall. So I don't know why he'd be more okay with Michael Burnham than he would be with his own actual son. It's very weird, and we never heard any mention of his daughter in the main series. And remember, like, the reason that we can hammer at this Discovery show for all of its mistakes is they went to social media and everything and are like, Oh, it's in the Prime timeline. This is not the Kelvin universe. This is not an alternate universe. This is Prime timeline. 10 years before the Enterprise, or 10 years before TOS. That's exactly when it takes place. It's Prime. It's completely canon. This is the way things are and the way they shall be. So that means we can pick it apart because it's wrong. So, anyway. We get to the first... There's something wrong with the series going on here, because they wander around in circles for a while, and it's revealed that she's... We go back to what I talked about earlier. This particular scene here. They walk out this delta in the sand to tell the Shinzao where to pick them up at. Tons and tons of issues with that. One, even from Star Trek Enterprise, transporters can work from orbit. Shinzao doesn't need to pull in to the planet to beam them up. Two, the reason that they're having this crisis is because this huge dust storm's coming in. Leaving a visual sign is the last thing that they're going to be able to see. Is this dust storm? They're not going to be able to see the delta. They're going to have much more luck using their sensors to see your IR signature or your or the phaser shot. They might have detected the phaser shot, or they could have detected the comm system, but they walked a delta into the sand to help the Shinzao find them. No, not how it works. Sensors would have been much more effective, way more effective. Very dumb scene. So they go into the Shinzao and they go to this system on the edge of Federation space where a beacon was destroyed, and they're out there repairing it. While they're out there, they see a weird ship thing in the debris cloud. It's like an asteroid field. And they want to go investigate it, but they can't bring the ship in because it's too dense with asteroids. It's also too dense for a shuttle for some reason. Should be fine for a shuttle, especially if you have a decent pilot at least. So they put Michael Burnham in a very non-Star Trek... Let's do it again here. Star Trek Discovery flight suit. Probably not the name of the suit. Probably has some weird special name, huh? Let's see. Oh, here it is, sort of. Part of it. Very not really Star Trek spacesuit. It's like white with blue colors and very reflective and super advanced looking. Star Trek Enterprise. Oh, there's a TOS unit, TOS spacesuit, by the way. Which I respect that they don't want to bring this one back. It's kind of like the phase rifle. This is a very, very ugly design. So I'm not surprised that they want to redesign that in particular, but Star Trek Enterprise spacesuit actually looks pretty good. It has vibes with the Alien series, but the spacesuit looks pretty good. So they could have evolved this suit into something for her to wear, but instead they just made this suit that has no business being in Star Trek. And she goes to investigate it in a spacesuit, and she runs into the torchbearer on this thing that she was exploring that they don't know what it is. And she's just investigating it, standing on it, looking around, and he just appears behind her and attacks her. And she immediately grabs his bizarre looking bat'leth. Let's look that up. Star Trek Discovery bat'leth. And so this was actually teased before the show aired, but this was the new bat'leth design. Has pointy things facing inward and outward. So people commented at the time, that's kind of an impractical design. You could hurt yourself with this design. So this torchbearer dies instantaneously to Michael Burnham just jerking in surprise and makes it stab himself. I think people joked about the weapon might do because it's poorly designed. So this torchbearer that they, wherever it's at, that they kept jamming in our throats as hard as they could. Like, oh, this is the biggest deal in Star Trek history, this torchbearer. He's killed in like, there you go. Killed in like a millisecond. No big deal. He's no one. He's done. He's dusted. He's dead. He's gone. And then they pick her back up, Burnham. She got like radiation scarring from being out there in the radiation field of these binary stars. And then it shows us the Klingons talking among themselves again, the horrible looking Klingons. I think I've put them away at this point. But yeah, all the horrible Klingons, all poorly designed, are talking to each other, and apparently the thing she was on was a beacon, and the torchbearer was supposed to light it, so convenient timing that he was about to light it when she showed up. Killed him instantly, even though he's supposed to be like the most elite person in all Klingon society for some reason. Klingon designs still look awful, and they light the beacon. They're racial purists now, they're Nazis. She should probably go into that a little bit. So the whole series has been marketed a lot around diversity being a very important thing. It's marketed around the female captain of the Shinzao being Asian and being a woman. It's marketed around the main character being a black lady. And people, I don't know if CBS exactly has said it, but they're kind of very, very close to tipping the line of saying that there hasn't been a black captain, and there hasn't been a woman captain, hasn't been an Asian captain. There is. Sue captained the Enterprise B. Captain Sisko's black, and Voyager, that captain is a woman. So Star Trek's already done all the firsts for all these things, and that's important. But because they've already done it, it's not a big deal anymore. They shouldn't be marketing it like it's a big deal, because it's not anymore. In fact, you're kind of hurting the social justice cause by trying to make it a big deal when it's not. It should not be a big deal. That should just be normal. That's more inspiring than making it out like it's a big deal, you know. So that's why the Klingons are like Nazis now. So they light the beacon. They go on anti-Federation tirades. A bunch more Klingon ships show up. Klingon ships. Star Trek Discovery. Klingon ships. Lots of bad designs in here. I'm just trying to find like the fleet shot. I might not be able to track it down. Oh, there it is. So one thing, we have tons of lens flares and tons of darkness, and very hard to see what's going on. Very imprecise. Like, that's the Shinzao. You wouldn't really be able to tell that, though. It's very, very hard to see. These are Klingon ships. Again, if someone didn't tell you this was Star Trek, would you be able to tell that this is Star Trek? No. None of them look like Klingon ships at all. Shinzao barely looks like a Federation ship. These aren't Klingon ships. So yeah. And then in this episode, they also the ancient, what we were hoping were ancient Klingons, that are inside this big sarcophagus ship thing. They get into a discussion with all the other ships that show up because they're from all the great houses of Klingon space, and they all look like the horrible Klingons. So they're not. That's not just hoping that they're just an ancient cult or something. That's just how Klingons look now. GG no re. Which I can respect wanting to change like the TOS design since they're sort of racistly designed. But even though TOS kind of misstepped with how Klingons look, it's been retconned pretty well. And in future series like TNG and DS9, they talk about it a little bit. They're like, well, we don't talk about that because they recognize that they did look different then. So it was more established canon that Klingons did look human at this time. And then Enterprise came and actually explained why. There's a virus that affected them and that turned them into more human-looking Klingons. At least some of the population, but not all of them. We just happen to only see the human-looking ones in TOS. And then the FASA expanded universe kind of stuff explains that those are a sub-race of Klingons that they use for spying, which makes sense. But no, they're just all gone now. They're all just these horrible, ugly Klingons. Then the Federation ships show up. And then a Swami shows up and he rubs it and spits on it. No. Star Trek Discovery. Federation Fleet. That's a nice shot. Oh, that's not Discovery. It's just funny. And it's just so easy to tell the difference between the images that are actual Star Trek and which ones are Discovery. So this is one of them. You can barely see what's going on here because they shoot it in such a dark environment. So much lens there. So that's one of them. That ship's kind of cool. It kind of has 4 nacelles. Yeah, can't really see anything in those Klingon ships. This is another still from the shot. You kind of see this one. I think this might be the Shenzhou. It might not be though. It might be a different one. But very ugly design, reminiscent of Starfleet designs, but completely off kilter. You can barely see what's going on in the background there. Some of them kind of look like the Miranda class, sorta, barely, a little bit. Oh, you gotta squint. You really gotta squint to see these ships back, guys. You really. Ooh, you can barely see them. They're so small. The shots are so bad. You can't see anything in the space battle. And this is the big space battle right here. So the huge Klingon fleet we looked at and the big old Federation fleet, they get in a fight. And these little tiny little things kind of streak between them. Kind of pew 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 pew. That's it. That's the space battle. It's over. They kind of barely pew at each other. Barely. The ships don't even really. When they're in the ship, it doesn't shake. There's no shaky cam or anything to tell you that the ship's getting blown apart. It's bad. It's a very bad space battle, dude. Look up the Star Trek Enterprise Xindi fleet battle. Thousands and billions of times better than this. And they threw millions and millions of dollars at this series. Millions of dollars. And they did better in 2004. With a tiny little baby budget. The Federation gets its ass kicked. And basically just the Shenzhou barely surviving left, and the Klingon fleet warps out, and it's mostly just the sarcophagus ship left. They want to try to figure out how they're going to destroy the sarcophagus ship if they can. So they decide to violate the Geneva Convention and put a bomb inside a Klingon dead body because they see they're collecting their dead. Federation doesn't do that. No, no, no. This is Captain Georgiou, or whatever her name is. And she's the only captain so far that we've seen who's a good captain. As we see in the later series, the Federation captains are kind of dickwads in Discovery. She's the only good one we've seen, and she's gonna break the Geneva Convention and put bombs in these Klingon bodies. I don't care how critical it is, the Federation doesn't do that. But they do it, and they blow up the neck of the ship doing that. And then they decide that they need to beam over there and capture the leader. Which, if they can beam over there, that means they should be able to beam him out. It means their shields are down. They should be able to beam him out of there instead of having to go over there and fight. But they do. They beam over there and try to fight him, capture him. They're not trying to kill him because they talk about they don't want to make him a martyr, which is important. And he kills, the main Klingon guy kills Georgiou, the captain of the Shinzhou, and that makes Michael Burnham freak out, even though she's been trained by been trained by Vulcans all these time to be cold and emotionless. He freaks out, switches her phaser to stun or kill, and kills him. After just being the one who says that we shouldn't kill him because it'll turn him into a martyr. It was a conscious decision. She had him already at gunpoint with the stun. She could have just stunned him still. But no, she just switched it to kill. Killed him. And then they beam her out really quick. They don't beam back Georgie. And they launch the escape pods of the Shinzhou, and that's the end of the episode. That's the end of the pilot. And there's a lot of stuff I missed over too. Just trying to think of anything in particular else that's bad. Like I said, if you want to see a breakdown of every single episode piece by piece, you can do that over at Trek Yards, but I'm just gonna, I'm generalizing here. Anything else that we should cover in this one? No. I think that basically covers everything that was horrible in the starting 2 episodes. So then, go on to the next episode. It's been 6 months. She was convicted of being a... Michael Burnham was convicted of being a mutineer, because they did skip over. She very rapidly decided that she was going to stage a mutiny because Geordi didn't want to attack the Klingons, and she wanted to try to attack the Klingons first before they attacked them, because Klingons should expect that, because that's kind of an honorable thing that the Klingons do. If you show force back to them, they'll respect you more. But Georgie didn't want to do that, because it's not the Federation way, even though she blows them up with a bomb planted in one of their bodies later. Well, yeah, and there's holograms too. They can, they have Star Trek or Star Wars holograms in Star Trek now for some reason. But yeah, she stages a mutiny, and everything goes wrong as we've talked about. So they convict her of being a mutineer. She's been in prison ships or something for a while now. She's in a prison shuttle going through some kind of transfer, and they pilot through a nebula for some reason, and the pilot gets out to fix something that's going wrong outside the ship, and he just gets thrown by some kind of force, and it looks like they're all gonna die on the shuttle, and then the Discovery shows up and saves them. So now we can look up the Discovery design. Although the redesign was shown before the series started, by the way. Star Trek Discovery redesign. I have the Synex sign up here. I'm trying to look into the best shot here. Well, I like one that's from in the show, but it looks like these are just the preview stuff, but that's fine. So this is the redesign for Discovery. Now it has this hole in the middle. It has another hole here. It kind of has this ball in the center. It has this pointy thing sticking out of the deflector for some reason. It's got these ridiculously long pointy nacelles. And they got rid of the three nacelle, three bizarre collector thing kind of going on. Now they're kind of holes in there. They glow blue, they're red. So why is this design way better or way worse than the original one that we had here? Let's get them side by side here. Original, redesign. So we got structural weak points here with these holes. We got long spindly nacelles, which don't make any sense in this time period. We got a funny thing sticking out of the deflector. So it's really bad. And what makes me angry about it was when everyone was angry about this ship, everyone raged about it. CBS said, "Oh, okay, we're seeing your feedback. We know it's bad. We're going to redesign it and make it better, based on your feedback." And they made it worse. They don't give a shit about our feedback at all. They did not listen to us. They might have seen too many comments about the engines being too short, so they made them ridiculously long. That might have been the only thing that they fed back, and I don't know, I think I'd rather have these little squat ones than these long ones. They're ugly. And there's design reasons that it's supposed to look like this, even though if you're writing a story, you should really write the plot before you design the ship. They should have known by the time they did this that they needed to design the ship like this. If this, as we find out, the Discovery has a special drive on it, which makes the saucer kind of rotate around and stuff. But they should have already known that before they made the first design. So I don't really give them a pass for that one. So they go on the ship, and there's a very bad CGI. I don't know if I can find it. Let me see here. I don't know if I still have it in my screenshots. Probably not. No. Maybe if I look up Discovery bad CGI. Let's see. So keep in mind that all this is happening after the show was delayed by like a year from when they said it was originally going to come out. And it has a ridiculously huge budget. They're making all these mistakes with all this money and all this time. There's no excuse for it. Like if you look at any of the other Star Trek series, even though TNG had a kind of bumpy first season, it was not that messed up. This one is completely screwed up. I forgot how I was going to look up now. Discovery bad CGI. Not many people notice this one. This is kind of one of my more personal things that I saw this. Okay, let's look up Star Trek Discovery. Star Trek Discovery Shuttle Bay. Did really no one take any Any screenshots of this? I want to show you because it's just really bad. Oh, excuse me, sorry. What the hell? Am I really the only one who thought this was awful? Alright, let me do a little bit of digging here. Maybe I uploaded to Imager, let's see. No, I don't know what's on my Facebook. That might take a while to find it, maybe in my Discord. Entertainment. Control F. Let's search. Oops. Weird, I see all my other mentions of it, but I don't see it. I'm not gonna look for too much longer here because I don't want to leave you waiting for too long. Check my Facebook, my photos. Oh, there it is, there it is. Bam. Might have to hide my webcam for a second here so you can get to look at the shuttle bay. So it's easier to see when it's in video of how bad the CGI is in this shot. But you can tell that this background is not actually there. It's completely fake. And then like they've kind of crappily edited the shuttle over it. Oh, that's ugly CGI, dude. You gotta see this shot in motion. Try to find it somewhere. Probably not on YouTube because CBS probably likes to copy strike anything they can get their hands on. If you can find the scene in motion, you're gonna puke. This CGI is garbage. It's like 1999 CGI in this shot. It's so bad. Oh my god, it's bad. No one talks about it. Like I'm the only one who's noticed that the CGI in this shot is awful. I heard someone say that I actually liked the way it looked in the shot, and I'm like, what? I guess if you have some kind of weird fetish for 1999 CGI, you might, but ugh, it's bad. It's gross, dude. Anyway, it gets on to Discovery. Let's see. I'm not gonna go over all the tiny plot points here. We're just going over the mistakes. I think generally this episode wasn't too bad. This is episode 3. This one wasn't the most awful. Yeah. All the awfulness that we've already seen continues. Like we see more bad Klingons and more bad Batliths, and we're introduced to the captain, who's an asshole, which not really supposed to be if you're Federation, but here we go. He's a dick. So yeah, nothing too wrong with this. At least when you compare it in comparison, you already know everything's fucked at this point, so when you know that, this episode's not that bad. Other than it introduces us to the main storyline of at least this season of the spore drive that the Discovery has, which lets it teleport anywhere it wants. Although it can't do that at this point. It has a sister ship that gets destroyed in this episode. They go over there to figure out that this tardigrade thing can control it and stuff. That might be the next episode, but and basically that there's this fungus spore mycelium network that spans the universe that you can travel through, and that all living things, it's the Force basically. They basically say that the spore drive works on the Force. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea, but whatever. Oh, memory's starting to fail me about like what happens in each episode because it all kind of blends together for me. Any other big, huge problems? Well, okay, the next episode they get the spore drive working, and they go to save this colony from being attacked by Klingons. Discovery teleports in. There's a bunch of birds of prey there. Pew pew pew. Birds of prey are blown up, half of them, in like a second. And then there's 3 more birds of prey coming in. Instead of pew pew pewing again, happens like wait. Basically, the Braveheart hold, and it waits until they're super close. And then they teleport back away and they drop a bunch of bombs, and the bombs blow up the Klingons. It's supposed to be an epic scene, is what they did there. But when we see it flip into this, just appear out of nowhere and blow 3 of them up in a second, no issue. He could have just blown them up. He didn't need to use these bombs. Lasers are apparently like super phasers. Doesn't make any sense. And then this colony, surely that's not all the Klingons that were attacking. It shouldn't have been just 6 birds of prey. There should have been more ships in the system that would come after they got blown up. Doesn't make any sense. So what else is going on that's bad? Again, we're just going over the bad. There's tons of plot points I'm going past, but let's think. Again, there's this general badness, but we've already established that the series is just bad at this point, so most of that you can start to just pass over because you know it's already bad. We're 4 episodes in, and Michael Burnham is still not a good character. She doesn't have any emotions, really, except when she does, and they're really ugly emotions. And which she's supposed to be a human raised by Vulcans, I understand, but she's just not fun. She's just not a good character. And that's something that I'm noticing as the series has progressed, is they're trying to shoot this series like, we're going to focus on the little guy. We're going to focus on the little guys now. We're not going to focus on the captain like all the other series have done. They don't, but... So they're just trying to focus on a few people who aren't too important. And it's not an ensemble cast anymore. So like any other Star Trek series, you have like 10 main characters. It follows all of them pretty well. The captain does get more attention than the others, but all of them get their fair share. But in this one, only like 3 characters are important at all, which is kind of the opposite of what they're trying to tell us that they're trying to do with the series. So that kind of annoys me, because they're just focusing on a couple characters that don't matter. Have to do my Picard shirt tuck because this shirt's too big. What happens next? As far as badness goes, of course. So I think we're ready for the last episode as of this recording. So Discovery off camera has been doing a lot of good for the Federation. It's been destroying lots of Klingon stuff. And the captain's talking with the admirals on some space station. And when he leaves the space station, he leaves on a shuttle. Don't know why the Discovery can't pick him up, because the Discovery can be anywhere it wants to be instantly. Don't know why the Discovery just wasn't parked there to begin with. He's on some shuttle. For some reason, he's not in warp, and he's in the middle of nowhere. Klingon D7 battle cruiser shows up and kidnaps him. So this has been like the straw that's been breaking the camel's back for a lot of the Star Trek people. For some reason, like I said, a lot of people are just giving it the benefit of the doubt. The doubt's been gone for a long, long time. I don't know why it's taking this long for people to figure it out, but Well, first we'll just look at Klingon D7. This is the Klingon D7. You're probably pretty familiar with it. It's about as iconic as the Constitution class. Which again, I can see if they want to... Not the prettiest design. I can see if they want to update it for 2017. That's what it looks like. But here's the Star Trek Discovery Klingon D7. The images might not be out for it yet because it's such a new episode. Google, you're failing me. None of these are it, just for reference. Expect some quotation marks. Star Trek Discovery and Klingon D7. I don't know if anyone else is. This is not to do with Discovery. I don't know if anyone else has been noticing this, but I think Google is starting to not be very good for searching things anymore. Because I think it's getting bloated with like basic searches. It's like I'm typing Star Trek Discovery, so all it wants to show me is like the biggest, most important things about Star Trek Discovery, but it's not really taking into account that I also want to see the D7 from Star Trek Discovery. It's like, well, D7 gets searched a lot, Star Trek Discovery gets searched a lot, these are the most searched images. It's not, I don't know, but it's been having a lot more trouble with Google trying to get me to where I want to be lately. And it's really, really frustrating. Or if, like, for example, like a terrorist attack happened at some point, one of them, I don't remember which one at this point, which is sad. I was like, okay, I want to compare this to a different one that happened a long time ago. Well, if you search for a terrorist attack, all you're going to see is the new one. It's just blotted out. The sun's been blotted out by all the results for the new one. So you can't even get to the old one anymore. But here it is. This is the new... I don't know why we can't access that image. This is the new D7 battlecruiser. Looks nothing like the other one at all. Has nothing to do with the old D7. I know what you might be hoping for. You might be like, oh, maybe there's a head on the end of this. No, it's just a point. There's no cells over here either. It's just not a D7. It's completely not, even though the computer calls it out as one. That puts us in this awkward situation. They're telling us that they're assuring us that this is prime timeline. They're assuring us that it all comes together by the end of the series. But it can't be. It can't be a Klingon D7. And at the same time of it being prime timeline, it just can't. What do you do? We're stuck. They broke it. They broke Star Trek. Unless they finally do just admit that it's not prime timeline. That doesn't seem like they're going to do that. But anyway, I think that just about covers it. I'm kind of getting tired, as you can probably tell. But, yeah. You shouldn't like this series. The writing's really bad, too. Like, I haven't even really talked about that, but everything's very cliche. Everything's really forced. They don't really consider the science of it anymore like Star Trek usually does. They just kind of appeal to the lowest common denominator now to try to sell the series. And it's ruining it, so that's all I have to say for it. I hope you all enjoyed, and have a good day. I did forget a small detail. Probably a weird edit there, I'm sorry. No, a small detail is actually a big deal. I forgot about it. So, I think it was in the same episode, I think it was still episode 3, that it was this was talked about. Maybe it was episode 4. But it goes back to the Klingon perspective on board the sarcophagus ship. They fixed it, sort of. They fixed the neck from being broken, but their engine or dilithium cells are destroyed. It's been 6 months, and the ship's been stuck there. No one ever came to save them. They never evacuated. Even though Federation has come there because Michael Burnham gets the last will and testament of Georgie, and it was the telescope that was on board the Shinzao, so the Federation has come back and salvaged things. And for some reason they didn't finish off the sarcophagus ship, even though that wouldn't really be something the Federation would do, but I guess in this universe it'd probably be what the Federation would do instead of trying to rescue them and put them in prison, which the real Federation would do. Might not even put them in prison, might just release them to the Klingon Empire as a token of goodwill, but you know, whatever. So the Federation has been back, and the Klingons have never been back. They just left the main capital ship of the guy who was basically the new messiah for the Klingons. They just left it there and didn't rescue anyone, didn't come to check on them or anything. Same system. It's not like they warped out and got lost somewhere. They should know where they're at, and they do know where they're at because someone does finally come to them in this episode after 6 months of being gone, and they eat Captain Georgie's corpse. Make it a point of that. It doesn't really seem like a very Klingon thing to do at all. Although I have changed my mind slightly from what most Star Trek fans are still really upset about that. I have been thinking about it a little bit, and you wouldn't say much about the Klingons. Like, I'm pretty sure you can look up, and they probably have screamed about the blood of their enemies, drinking the blood of their enemies before, so eating might be a step farther than drinking the blood of your enemy, but I don't think it's completely impossible that they would do that. In particular, if they know that Georgie was the one who put the bomb on the Klingon body, violating the Geneva Conventions, then she acted dishonorably. She probably doesn't have any honor at all anymore to them, so they probably don't care about not eating her or not. But that is like one defense of a decision that I might give them for the series, but it's still, I don't think it's really a thing Klingons would do. So just kind of another thing to throw on the pile there. So yeah, anyway, we're done. And I hope you enjoyed and have a good day. Okay, I forgot another thing. You can probably tell a little bit's past because I took the uniform off, but whatever. I forgot of the straw that broke the camel's back with Star Trek Discovery. Why I decided to make this video to begin with. So I was looking around and I found this posted, and it's this guy explaining that he's done the plot for Star Trek Discovery before, and they've stolen his idea. So you can read it here if you want. He says, I've been approached lately by some of my fans via Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and the AGS forums about several similarities between the new series Star Trek Discovery and a point-and-click adventure game Tardigrades. I honestly don't know how to begin this article, so I prepared a few screenshots from both the TV show and my game for comparison. I am doing this to clarify that I haven't stolen ideas from the show at all, since all my posts in the dev blog are dated from years before the show. So I guess he has some point-and-click adventure game. Like, this dude is in a room filled with little spore thingies. Star Trek. The Tardigrades production announcement was on May 8th, 2014. The devlog can be found here. The game is about a civilization that lived on Earth 20,000 years ago. They're on the verge of intergalactic travel using giant tardigrades to travel anywhere in the universe. Main character Carter is a botanist who will discover later the in-game connection between the super tough creatures and the instantaneous space travel. I made several promo videos that can be found on my YouTube channel that show my idea of space travel using giant tardigrades. Star Trek and the game side by side again. Only 2 videos are what triggered most of the tardigrade fans to contact me. I'm not going to play these videos because copyright stuff. My Twitter friends also told me about how some of the characters resemble a lot of common traits between the show and the game. For instance, one of the main lead characters of tardigrades is Yolanda, a female that comes from the area that the show is now Central Africa, where the game is set in 20,000 BC. Also have a homosexual couple, of which the men assigned in different parts of the solar system. They are bearded Middle Eastern Aziz and his boyfriend Ty, who is in some danger situation. Might not speak English as his first language, but that's it. There, in another game, this character will be in prison with Aziz. His name is Mashik, a very white blonde dude. To their defense, I think having a device sphere is relatively irrelevant. There are just too many coincidental appearances of the characters that may put my project in a weird situation. Not to forget that Paul is a friend in another Federation ship that gave a hint of a long-distance relation, just as Aziz, Jupiter Orbit, and Titan Base are on tardigrades. So, Star Trek stole this tiny little indie developer's idea. It's pretty bad. That's the straw that broke the camel's back why I decided to make this video. I forgot about it as I was ranting. So yeah, that's pretty bad. Hope you enjoyed.